We're the Thunder Kids.
Sup. Welcome back to Everyday Vibes with the Thunder Kids.
That's right. I'm Brittany.
Oh, and I'm Matthew, and it is 2025. How
We be
y'all
vibing.
doing?
Oh yeah, we are fresh and not even
We
fresh. I feel like we're deep into 2025 already.
We're deep. Oh yeah,
It's
yeah.
MLK Day.
It's
Boy,
MLK Day. Yeah, happy
today.
MLK Day.
Yeah, I don't know.
Is it? Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
Remember?
Never forget.
But anyway,
yeah, that it is today.
it has been an exciting start to the year. Brittany, you've
It
already been
has.
out and back of the country.
I have been out and back. I made it back. Everyone in
Yeah.
Effingham was so concerned if we were safe.
Oh my
They
gosh.
they don't
Yeah.
know the outside world, so everyone is very
Oh no.
like,
The
are you sure it's safe? Is
yes.
everything gonna be safe? And then when we got back, they were like, were you safe? It's
Yeah.
like, do I look like I was safe? I'm kicking. Some people are
Yeah.
like, wow, you have a glow. And I'm like, yeah, I'm fucking tan now.
Yeah, it's
Feeling
nice.
good. I had a week in my home, like my home country. I went
Yeah,
back to the
right?
homeland.
Like
And so it's
there's
like, of
jungle
course
around me.
it
What are you
feels
talking about?
fucking great.
Yeah. Oh my
Oh my
goodness.
God. LOL. But it was
Yeah.
the shortest amount of time I've ever been in that country, which is
Okay.
crazy to think. Like, so going Peace Corps, right? 2018. And then I was there for a hot chunk of
Costa
time.
Rica. I don't think
Costa Rica,
we
pardon.
actually said the words. You went to Costa Rica
We
earlier
went to
and you
Costa
came
Rica
back.
like
Yes.
last week or a week ago.
Yep.
Like the 7th through the 13th, Costa Rica. And then I was in Peace Corps, Costa Rica. And so, and was on a coffee farm for 2 years. So hence the melding of my job currently and why not visit a coffee farm. It kind of started with
Yeah,
like,
you have
I have an
connections
in,
there.
why not go? And
Yeah.
then it kind of turned into, okay, this sounds like a fun trip. Like we should make it more of a work trip. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, like we'll see where it takes us. Like we shouldn't have any expectations. I have no idea what is going to happen. Like all I have access to is like tours and going to a coffee farm, really, you know.
Okay.
And so it was like, okay, we'll just make this kind of a marketing thing and we'll roll with it and just kind of vibe. And
Okay.
then so I planned the entire thing. Like I'm
Of course you
down.
do.
Of course I did.
Brittany's a great travel planner, everybody.
I am a great travel planner. Like
Yeah.
book me to plan your travel. I will give you very adventurous or not so
And
adventurous
yeah,
and
very
like
adventurous.
awesome.
Go
Like it
that route.
depends on,
And you could
you'll
save
have a
so much
great time.
money, you know.
You'll be
You know, we
like
can live on the cheap.
paying for your buck.
You just have to be able to get up early, go on long rides, and hike a lot and walk a lot. That's the only requirements, the only minimum requirements.
Also, you can like, I would totally make a trip for someone and make it like a moderate trip, not so, crazy. Have some more rest time.
You can have a
or
rest
more
day.
relaxing, whatever.
Go
But
to
I
the
feel like I
spa.
do very well, even just researching countries and going to spots that are not like well known. And I feel like I know a lot of people that are travelers. So then it's like phone a friend. Like that's how I found out about Samuk Champay in Guatemala.
Okay. Oh, nice. Yeah.
Was through Katie's old roommate Hannah. Super nice. She like lived down there for a month and she's like, okay, here's where you gotta go. Like this place is really far, but totally worth it. And fuck, it was like my favorite place. That's where I jumped off like a 10-meter jump. Big, tall. What is that? Like 30 feet?
Yeah.
It's how'd you jump? I was the only one who did. But things like that. So you have those connections and you're like, okay, this is fun, this is cool, this is safe, this is easy to get to, or like this is how you would get there. And I'm down to rough it, especially after Peace Corps. Like, who gives a shit? I'll take a bus anywhere. Especially I speak the language. I am a white girl that speaks Spanish. And being back in the States, like even at the shop and I talk to Hispanics, I feel like, oh my God, my Spanish is so bad. And then going down to Costa Rica and it felt like I was back, baby. And even like better, honestly. I feel like I've had a lot of time to marinate. And then it just came out. Like I wasn't translating into English at all.
Well, maybe it's because you're in the States, you're getting more Mexican Spanish, which is faster.
Yeah, it's
and then
so
you're
fast.
trying to like your brain's now getting better at comprehending maybe so that when you
Yeah,
go
then
there to
Costa Rica is
Costa
just
Rica,
like,
so they're on
slow
Tico
it
time
down a
there.
bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they, like,
Pura
ride the
vida,
wave of, like,
my
melody. Yes, yes. It's so much
pura
easier to
vida.
understand. Yeah, if you ever need to learn Spanish, Costa Rica is a great place to learn. Their Spanish is easy to understand. They pronounce every letter. They don't cut off words. Like, they just like, even in Panama, it's like buen dia. Like, they cut off a lot of S's. So,
Okay.
it just depends regionally. But
Interesting.
Costa Rica is very melodic, very beautiful. Highly recommend. So, but like, fuck, we get down there and I'm like, you get nervous in the beginning. And
Yeah.
then I'm like, fuck, I got this. This is
Yeah.
so chill. I'm vibing. And I don't mind asking people questions. I don't mind,
Dude,
like, there are things
yeah.
I don't know. And I plan to travel according to just like, the basic route and the basic whatever. And then it's like, ask a local where we should go, or
Yeah,
like
exactly.
figure out what the people are saying. If you want to live the life, you gotta
Get
get
in
in it.
there. Get in there.
So okay, like right when we got there, Brennan's like, okay, well, I do. So okay, back it up.
Okay,
The
back it up.
trip consisted of me, Drewski, who is a barista and like kind of a jack of all trades for the shop.
Yeah.
And then Emily, owner of the shop,
Owner of the
runner,
shop.
boss ass bitch. And then Brennan, husband, also roaster, big time roaster of the
Roast.
shop. So us
Roasted.
Fab Four in a big
Nice.
old SUV driving down the country. And so we
Driving
went
down the
down the coastal line.
country.
I mean, we had like a 7.5 hour drive
So
plus.
yeah, so it's the Pacific side, right? So
Yeah, we
did you
did the
go
Pacific
through
side. We were gonna
Ubita,
go the Cerro de
right?
la Muerte in the middle, but we did
Uh-huh.
not.
Okay.
It's usually the shorter route, but they're doing construction, so it was longer, and the GPS to
Ah,
Costa Rica, which is safer,
okay.
which is easier and like a chiller drive,
You get the
flatter.
views
You
of
get
the
the views of the water,
ocean.
but you don't get like the cliffs
Yeah.
of the Cerro de la Muerte. I mean, it's called like the Highway of Death
Ugh.
for a reason.
Dude, those bus rides through that were terrifying. And then, Brittany, you got me the front seat. So it felt like I had a full frontal
You
view
see?
hanging. Oh, I was a front seat on the
It's actually
corner.
baller. I've never been
So,
front seat. Dallas
so
and I
there
always went
was
back.
times where on those turns, those tight turns, I was
Dude.
literally over the
Yeah.
ledge, and
Yeah.
then the wheels under me,
Yeah.
and you see that because
Yeah.
you're full window there,
Yeah.
full window door.
You're like, what
And,
if I lean over?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's
Those sections I could not
crazy.
fall asleep for some reason.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
shockingly. That's why the Peace Corps gives you Dramamine. You take it and you wake up in San Jose. You do not want to see what's happening underneath you. Like
It
it,
was
especially
wild.
in the dark, you're just feeling all these shifts, these turns. Like Maddie, we once got after this whole big strike, we were in Perez for like 9 hours, but we
Yeah.
had to get to the Capitol. And then the bus driver negotiated for us to get through as passengers. People needed to go to the
Which is
hospitals.
wild that
Like
he was
people had
able to get
appointments.
through a full-on protest in the middle of the capital
That's
city. Like,
Costa
oh my
Rica for you.
god!
I mean, it's like
Like,
pretty
no,
fire.
we got kids that need to go
Yeah,
that
we
place.
need to get to the Capitol. And they're like, okay, just for the kids, but all you other semis, back the fuck up. Hilarious. But we made that drive in like 2 hours. That is
Yeah,
like
and then
not
nuts
a
up,
2 hour drive. And that's
speeding through the
just,
mountains
you could feel
with
it.
a
I mean, we were
gigantic
falling
bus.
off of our seats.
Inertia
Like
be damned.
luggage is falling
Fuck
down.
you, gravity.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Terrifying that country can be, but absolutely gorgeous. So I'm kind of
So
glad
you
we didn't
got an
take that route.
SUV
We
this
could chill.
time. Did
Yeah.
you drive?
I did not. Brennan drove
Okay.
and I rode shotgun. And
Shoddy.
so I think Brennan really wanted to drive and liked to
Yeah.
drive. So that was nice. And then
Yeah, it's
Drew and
just
Emily were in the back
you've
seat, like
driven in the
doing work
mountains, you know how
stuff.
to do it, but like it's still
But like
just
going down the
none of the
coast,
whole
like,
time
but
for
yeah. And then I'm watching for like holes and animals and people. And,
yeah.
there's just
There's
like,
sloths and
yeah.
monkeys and shit.
And lots of holes randomly, and you're like, wacko, wacko, watch out for that hole. And yeah, there's a lot of one lane bridges. So you're like waiting, passing, like you got to take your shot. but like don't be too aggressive. So it's a learning curve, but we booked it down the coast and made it to, okay, wait. So we get to San Jose that night, and then that next morning before we hit the coast and we hit that whole drive, we stopped at a micro mill that Brendan already orders coffee from. It's called Las Lajas. So like he's like, what if we just drop in? I'm like, okay, let's try it. And you know, Costa Ricans, they're down for that. They love that. So we just show up and we're like, yeah, we ordered coffee from you. Like, could we get a little tour? And he was like, sure. And he's like the main guy. He's the owner. He's dad. And he was like, yeah, we don't really do tours. Like, watch your step. It's a bit slippery here. It's a bit like, wait. So I guess they really don't do tours. But they were down and they took us.
You just go in and ask.
You just gotta ask. And then we like talked about coffee, talked about the climate, like got into kind of more deeper things. And I was translating a bit. And then his son, Oscar Jr., shows up and he's like, I know a little bit of English. Nah, motherfucker knows a lot of English. And so then he'd be like, did you get that? And I'm like, yes, but if you want to translate, like that'd be great. And you know, sometimes I don't catch it all. Like I get the whole gist of everything, but there's some specifics. But anyway, so then the wife comes in. So we've got Oscar Jr., and then his wife. So we're like hanging with the fam, talking about the coffees that they do. They've got all the bags in the US bags and UK,
nice,
you know, branded coffee bags from all over the world that their beans are for. And they just have like a high end process, man. Like there's a machine to sort it by size. There's a machine to sort it by weight. And then it's like, into all these different categories and then resorted, and then the best go here, and then you know second grade, third grade. It's just like quite
crazy
an operation.
And
you know, as like I got to see this through other people's eyes, and so like you don't even know what you don't know. You know, you think of Costa Rica, I feel like people just think third world. Fuck no. Like it's just like not. So to go to this and it's like a clean facility that is like just
conveyor belts
and pristine
things
and
and bagging and
they
all
were
the things and industrial processes.
Yes. And then they're like, yeah, my wife does the accounting and she sets up all these trades and they sell to the Cafe Imports, which is who we use to get our coffee in the States. So it was just like, it was so funny to see this like all around. They were like blown away that this would like exist like this. And that was day one, morning day one.
And that's just part of the chain.
The tone.
You know, the globalization of coffee. Just
you know, yeah. It was great. Actually. So we make our way down the coast. It's a long day of driving. And we get down to Las Majestas. Las Majestas. And
was it nice and cool? What was the weather like?
Oh, it was probably like a nice 73, 76 during the day with the sun, and then probably like a lovely 68 at night. You know, there's some chill, some wind, but like very nice. You know, you got your sandals and your sweatpants and sweatshirt, and you're just like walking outside, loving life, staring at the stars. You know what I mean? It's just like not too shabby of a time.
Not too shabby, you know.
But like, okay, it's the host fam. So Mark, Senya, Noe, and then Sophie's home.
Nice.
She's working at a local coffee shop kind of down the street. And super awesome. She's bagging beans and really getting into like the restaurant-y type. It's like a treehouse restaurant you need reservations for. So we ate there one night, which was awesome.
Treehouse. So it's actually up in the trees?
Like it was not like up, but you kind of walk out into this boardwalk into this, and you're surrounded by coffee plants.
Oh, wow.
Like they are in the windows all around you. You're in the fields. Cool. So it was very cool. And their food was very good. It was a very good evening. We had a blast. So that was great. But like one, to be home. Like, I slept in my old room. Andrew was there too. We were both in little twin beds in my room. And like that was fun.
Did you cuddle with the cockroaches?
No, I didn't see any
Little
cockroaches.
lizards.
Thank you. Yeah.
No scorpions and spiders in your socks.
No, you just hear the
like
dogs
home.
outside. And
You
you just
know?
like you're up at 5 a.m. just hearing shit, you know? There's a
Yeah.
rooster, there's a car, there's people just talking. Like people are up around at 5. And you're like, how the hell? What the hell, man? Like, get out of here.
Like, I like to get up at 5, but I don't like conversing with other humans at 5.
Yeah.
That's my coffee alone time.
Yeah, it's just
That's
like
my
sun goes
wake up
down,
time.
we're down. Sun comes up, we're all up. And
okay.
Jeez.
But
but yeah, to live that life and then get the breakfast going and just have them participate in family life was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I saw them making the tortillas and stuff.
Yep.
That was pretty
Drew
good.
ended up being our tortilla maker the rest of the trip because we had 2 nights away from home, and he was great at it, and he was loving it. He was perfecting it by the end.
Did you make any of the fried plantains?
We did. We made a lot of fried plantains. We kept making them.
Plantains were so good.
And
they're so good.
They'd be like, "Well, do you want like queso y natilla?" And they're like, you know, ugh. And I'm like, "No, that's how it should be made." And then they ate them, and they were like, "Oh, it's so good." We kept eating Tico like the whole time after. Brandon made some ceviche one night. Like it was so good. They learned a lot. Emily's like, "I'm gonna make this for the kids. Like all this rice and beans is good and easy and like filling."
Yeah.
So, you know, there's a lot to learn just by living. And Emily kept saying, like, I am taking so much away just on hospitality. The way we showed up at this micro mill, he dropped everything to give us. I mean, we were there at least an hour, probably an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Like, that's your day. This is like time out of your day you're giving to us because you're nice.
Yeah.
And then Mark Senya, you know,
it's so impactful. Like
you
could be increasing a business, and then like now you know that guy, and like can set up maybe, or like you know, there's
or talk highly about his facility. That's like you should buy from him.
Here we are talking about him now.
Exactly,
dude.
Yeah, Las Lajas and Alajuela, Costa Rica.
Buy his coffee.
Yeah, he's got honey roasted bomb stuff, black honey. He's got some cool natural beans. Where was I?
About the hospitality, learning lessons from Costa Rica, Ticos, how impactful this whole trip was.
Thank you.
Because of coffee.
But like, you know, in the US, someone comes to visit and you kind of finagle your time off work. Like, oh, I'll take off Friday. So you guys like do something on Thursday and like da-da-da-da-da. And like Costa's not like that. You just... you're gonna be there the whole time.
Family.
You're hosting this. Like, you are the host at all times. Like poor things are exhausted. They had people for Christmas. They had people over for New Year's, and they're just like constantly hosting people. And then us Americans show up, and it's just like, you know, you put your work aside.
It's rewarding for those. Like I like hosting stuff. You know, it's exhausting, but like
absolutely. And we're trying to help, you know, we're like helping picking coffee. Not that we did much. But it is like, and good marketing for them too, getting all of our videos and things like that.
Tell me about that. Tell me about picking coffee.
So we picked coffee, but it was literally the last week. So they've had quite a year, not great weather-wise. It's dry season, but it's been raining. And the rain signals the plants that it's time to start. So then the plants are then flowering. For like next year. And it's like, no, not good. They're like waterlogging soils. And so it's like harder to pick. Like you got to pick them faster because there's more water just like absorbing into all these things. So then they're like growing green buds again after this rain. And so they have to go through and pick all the green ones off to make sure it can be like fruitful for next year. So they're having to like regroom all of the plants. It's just like a lot.
Much more work and time.
So much more work and time. And like something you wouldn't get paid for, you know, like no way is not going to get paid. Like he's going to pay his people, but
Mhm.
he won't earn money for those green
It is
beans. You know what I mean? Those are like just
You
to
end up
save
just
the
losing
plants.
money for
Yeah,
the time and the
absolutely.
labor,
And you got to do all the fields. So we got the
Oh, boy.
last of the last. They were literally done the next day picking all the fields. So we got some red cherries and some yellow ones. There were some yellow coffee beans.
Nope.
And we picked, and between the four of us, we got like maybe a basket, like
Maybe. Okay.
maybe.
And a
So we
basket's
made,
like not even a full bag. Like, I mean,
yeah,
I don't know.
like
Trying to think of how big your
we
basket
might have
is.
made $3 between the four of us. Awesome.
Good
In
job.
like
Good
an
job.
hour and
Round
a
of
half,
applause.
we were putting in
Joe
work
Sippers.
too. But I did pull up a yucca, which was cool, like a whole yucca plant. We ate that for
Oh,
Din.
nice.
Pulled it
Yeah,
out of the
because it's a
ground.
root.
It's
Yucca.
just a root. So yeah, I yanked it out and it was just like yuccas. That was cool. And she just kept pulling up beans. Like things are planted within these coffee fields.
Yeah.
And it's like this is their food. And you're walking through and you pick that up and you're like, cool, dinner.
Yeah.
Like it's so cool. And for
It's so
them to
nice to have
experience
it that
that
much
is,
green, that much
oh
like,
yeah.
fruit of the earth. And
Yes.
it is beneficial to have multiple crops like that going at the same time
Absolutely.
because they're end to be self-sufficient. Like the three
Yes.
stocks, the three sisters for the United States, the corn, the soybean, and the squash.
Hmm.
If you grow those three in the same stock, it ends up producing a lot more. And that's how the Indians
Interesting.
used to do it. And that's how the
Yeah.
Pilgrims
That's why it's
back in the
called
day
like the
before
trifecta.
industrialized, agriculture. But yeah,
Interesting. Yeah, it
that's
makes sense.
awesome.
And like
And
Noe
you can
talks
walk through a
about,
field, grab a different plant, eat it that
yeah.
night.
And like a banana that has nitrogen and potassium, like they bring to the
Like it's not
soil,
like we
then
were
it's a
going out to
flavor.
our grandparents' cornfields and grabbing potatoes that's going in between the stalks.
Yeah, not at
That'd
all.
be fucking
We're
sick.
like a singular plant people. But even in
Monoculture.
Guatemala, we saw that. For each corn stalk, there was a coffee plant, like
Yeah.
just right in a row,
Yeah, the
double
monoculture's
grown.
not good. That's why banana plantations are bad for the environment.
Dude, and pineapples too.
And pineapples.
Oh, and then
Yeah.
it's too acidic. You can't grow anything on it after.
Yeah.
Which Dole loves to do that and then leave. And then that's some
Yeah.
barren ass land that you can't do
Yeah.
shit with.
Yeah.
And all those jobs. But anyways, there's that. But okay, they had the whole experience.
You had the
They're
whole
making
experience.
tortillas. We were in the house. We
You're
played Roomy
picking
Cube with No
beans.
Way.
You're doing
We're
that. You're going
showing
there.
pictures. Mark Senya's chatting with Emily. Like they're good enough at English, like great English, to be able to just
Which is
converse. And
phenomenal.
then Miss Sophia is just like a whole woman now that just talks and
Of course.
like holy smokes, and fluent English, crushing it. So she was translating. It was like I had the back seat. I was just like chatting over here with Mark Senya,
Yeah.
and she was over watching the Americans. It was
That's
awesome. It was
pretty
so
neat.
great.
That's
It was a
good.
great setup. Yeah, everyone just like enjoyed their time. And we went on the waterfall hike,
Oh
which
my
I
gosh,
forgot
yeah.
how much of a bitch that is. Like it was a hell
Yeah,
of a
because
hike.
you were describing that to me back in the day as like one of the long ones, the grueling ones, and then how crazy it is. No Way does that in his rubber boots.
Yes.
Yes.
Like, and then he
And then you
talks
guys
about
scaled
like
it.
putting in the pipe. Like, will you follow a big pipeline for a long time? And he's like, yeah, I helped put this in, walking that
Oh,
3 times in a day. Like I
oh my
can't, I was
gosh.
exhausted one time to do that 3 times and haul metal pipes. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Yeah.
They're just in such great shape to just like walk and be
Yeah.
active
You
human
start doing it
beings.
from day one and your
Oh
body's
man,
just
you're
used
just
to it by then.
accustomed.
You're like, oh my
Oh,
goodness.
it was crazy. So then, like, Drew was crushing the hike. Brennan's crushing the hike.
Nice.
Emily's
Nice. Nice.
crushing the hike. And I'm just like partially dying on a hill, but like totally fine. I at least can do these things and I don't bitch. I'm a little slower and that's okay. And but man, it just like ups and downs from the hurricane. I feel
Yeah.
like it like crashed into things, and then you're just like going straight down, going straight up, and then leveling out and going straight down. It's
Oh,
like,
gosh.
holy shit. I would love to see the all trails of this.
Yeah,
It's just like absolutely absurd.
the
The
up
elevation
down, like
gain.
I like going straight up. Well, at least like you can get the gruelingness of it, but when you go up and then down, and then
Yeah.
up and then down, and then up and then down,
It
and then
just
up and
feels
then
like,
down, it feels because then you have to go down and then up and then down and then up.
yeah.
And then oh
Yeah,
my
going back
goodness,
something
no,
fierce.
thank you.
It was just like absurd, but it was awesome. They
But it's good.
loved it, and it's a
Yeah,
good experience. And it's just like, it's a hike, you walk, and
yeah.
they don't even go by how long the hike is. It's by time, it's 3 hours there. Then we spend a while, and then it's 3 hours back. Okay. So yeah, that was an experience. And then we left the next
The
day and
3 hour
we
hike's
went,
still pretty. I'm trying to think of comparing it to my hikes, and that's pretty good.
yeah, a 3 hour hike there, like 6 hour total.
Takes me about 2.5, 3 to get up mailbox.
Yeah, I feel like this
I'm
is
not
not
stopping.
equivalent, but I don't know. She a hefty one.
Yeah, she a hefty one. And jungle
Ooh.
vibes are.
But that waterfall is so gorgeous.
Yeah.
And to sit there and you can drink that water, fill up your water bottle in like the spring coming out of the earth. Cool. Amazing. Delicious water. Thank you, nature. But yeah, and just the experience of like chatting and walking and like they point out birds, and Noe hugs trees and he talks about the trees, and he like he's just the best. And you're like, "Hey, Noe, what's that tree?" And he'd like look at it and you go, I don't know. And then when he knew, he'd like have a whole thing about what this is, Oh,
Yeah.
he's just so funny. They're the best hosts. They're just great. And Brennan made like some steak and apple pie, and they were loving that.
Oh, wow.
And we also got to see the co-op. So where I taught English a little bit and kind of helped out, the co-op that Noe and Marxenia belong to, that they sell their coffee to. We went to tour that. We did a whole cupping. We got like the
Nice.
royal treatment. And Marxenia had never been on a tour of that place. Like Noe's dropped coffee off for decades.
Yeah.
Decades. And she's like, I mean, what went, she's not really going with him. It's
exactly.
kind of his job. She's doing her thing and whatever. So it was an experience for her just to do that whole tour with us. She was just like in love with it. And then I think Warner was joking, but there was these massive silos, okay? These ginormous, wide-ass silos.
Okay.
With this catwalk way up there and this tiny spiral staircase. And Warner's like, yeah, you want to climb it? And I was like, kinda, yeah, actually. And then he's like, okay. And then he turns to Brennan. He's like, you want to climb that? And Brennan goes, yeah. And they go, okay. So then we all got it there. And then we climbed up. And this staircase, we are shaking side to side walking up this. I mean, I'm like, oh my God, if this falls over, this would be a disaster. We've all got hard hats, but like, Jesus.
Well, you got 3 people on it.
And we're all just climbing up it. And you get to the top and you're like, whoo, but you can see the entire facility and then these massive silos below you. There's like 6 of them and they're full of coffee beans. And like, this is their storage. And then you'd bag them from here. And it's just like, holy shit, this is a lot of coffee. Like a lot of coffee. And every place we went that like had coffee, little sections that were touchable, no way is just like grabbing and sniffing and throwing back. Grabbing, sniffing, throwing back. Like that's just these coffee farmers. They, have the scent for it all. It's
that's pretty fun.
It's so crazy to watch.
Yeah.
And then we got to go in like the roastery room. We got to go places I did not go last time. So with Mom and Dad and Mike. So that was really cool to kind of get more of the coffee people's perspective, like we did a cupping and we just got way more in depth. And the guy who did our cupping and did all the roasting, his name was Ego. So I just kept saying Lego my ego. And then it was like, what would be that in English? It's like ego. And we were like, do you have a big ego? And he was like, no. It's a really nice guy. Anyways, it's his grandpa's name. His name is Ego, but we all were taken aback by name. But got into that. So we got to talking, like, how do you sell your beans? Like, I have no idea. Do you sell them straight? Do you sell them through somebody else? Like, do you conduct the business or whatever? And so basically, yes, exactly. Do you have an exporter? All these questions we kept asking at these places. And like Las Lajas, it was like, how do we go about this? And they were like, well, if you bought a whole container, which is like 200 big sacks of coffee, Joe Sippers does not need that much coffee in a year. It just like is not possible.
No,
so,
yeah.
And that's a lot of money. And you'd have to like store a storage container.
Yeah.
Like, what? So these big companies can do that. So then that's when you would go directly. But Cafe Imports is like, hey, in this, they kind of do the whole, this one goes to Joe Sippers, this one goes to somewhere, sell out parts of that container. And so we go through an importer, totally chill, but that's still a middleman. We're like trying to get rid of, cut cost. And so we keep asking them, how do you sell this? How do you get there? And Las Lajas is like, better to go through Cafe Imports. They take care of all the taxes. They take care of all the shipping. It's just like, we have a deal with them. It's better unless you buy a massive quantity. You can come directly from the source. Okay, great. Then we go to the cooperative and they're like, yeah, well, we actually sell to exclusive coffees. I'm like, exclusive coffees? What's that? So we get this contact for this guy, and the name's Francisco. And and it was like, I'll share this contact with you. And I'm like, whoa, this is kind of honor, and and then I talked to Noe about it, and Noe's like, oh, I know this guy. Like, he's a great guy, like amazing guy, just like pura vida. He lives in San Jose, runs a big operation. Okay, whatever. And so I'm like, well, Noe, can you set up this meeting with him for us for Monday before our flight? He's like, yeah, I'll try. So gives him a call, sets this up. And so we get there. So like we have 2 beach days. We go, we like enjoy ourselves. We get some din. We go to the beach. We go to the national park.
Shells.
Yeah, we saw some shells. We saw a lot of crabs, some iguanas, lots of monkeys, some sloths. We saw a pair of macaws. Had a toucan outside of our apartment. There's like so many good things happened to us. We were vibing, and then we were cooking Tico style. We were having beans and plantains and tortillas and eggs for breakfast and salchicha. Like all the things. It was really, we got into the zone. Lots of fruit, lots of papaya. It was a delight. And then it was like, okay, so Monday before our flight, we're hitting like our last business venture. And it's kind of like it ended up being the pinnacle of this trip. Like, how did we get this connection? And then I realized your girl's got a lot of pull in Costa Rica. I am feeling good about my connections in coffee in Costa. Like, it's just like setting it up with the host fam. Like, that's basic. Oh, the co-op, I used to work for them. Like, and I know that their coffee goes to Chick-fil-A. How does that happen? I have no idea. But then it was like, but I still have that connection. Might as well meet these people and see how this is done. If we don't have business, that's fine. But like, why not try and see? You never know what you don't know.
Yeah.
So we leave early morning because we still have like a 2-hour drive to get to the place. And we get there, and this facility is like incredible. It's impeccable. The design is amazing. And I guess his wife actually like runs it all. And then he's like the, head dude, but she's like the boss lady. And so he's like doing all the clients. And so they've got this like glass cupping room with 2 cupping tables. There's just like, holy shit.
So can you describe real quick for the audience and myself the cupping? What are you talking about cupping? That's not the Chinese acupuncture cups.
It is not the Chinese acupuncture cupping. Cupping or catación in Spanish. Catación in Spain Spanish. Is so you have your coffee, right? You have your green beans. So first of all, coffee is a cherry. It is a fruit, technically. It flowers and then it fruits, and then it gets red or yellow, and then it's good to pick. And you actually pick twice a yield per year. It just grows once, pick it all, grows twice, pick it all. And then we just like clear the fields and maintain everything until the next year. And so once these cherries, they go to like a receiver. So you like count how many your people have picked. Okay, great. This is how much I'm going to pay them for how much they've picked by like box size. And then you go to this receiver and they dump it all and they also count. They're going to recount because they're the ones that are going to pay you. Okay, great. Everything's squared away. Then that truck full of everyone's beans who goes to the co-op. So there are 3 different receivers in Las Majizas because there's so much coffee and it just depends who you want to sell your beans to. To be in a co-op, I think you might have to pay, but you get like all these benefits. Like they've got a discount at the grocery store. That's the co-op grocery store. It's like a co-op. So they belong to the co-op. They drop it off with these people. They take it to the co-op, which is probably like less than an hour away. And from there, like our co-op only does wash beans. So from there, that cherry is like pressure washed off and separated. And then these beans are just like washed and dried down to like 10, 11% moisture. And then that's when they can get like packaged up and sent to the US or all around the world. And that's when a roaster would take over.
That's when they roast it. Okay.
Yes. And so then Las Lajas, a little bit different. They don't do a wash process. They do a natural process. So from the time that they get their beans, they are washed, but not like pressure wash, just like a light wash. And then they're put outside to dry with that honey shell around it. So it gives a different flavor. It takes a little, probably longer time. Because you're not going through a machine. You're not going fast.
Using the sun.
You're using the sun. That was also an issue why they're having like rain time in the heat season is these beans. They had to cover their, like this is an open patio. Like they've had to cover it and try and get the sun in there, but not like lock fermentation moisture, So, and they're all in like different piles for different lots and different, like they're all sectioned off, different Q grades, all the things. It was like such impressive things. So, and then those are bagged and sold worldwide. So we're getting to these like coffee processing plants, and then they also bag these coffees and sell it. So we've seen the farmer side with Noe. We've picked coffee. Mm-hmm. Then we go to these processing, and then now we're at Exclusive Coffees, who is like an exporter of all of this. So the Coupe Sabolito truck showed up when we were there. That was crazy. So they're offloading the beans from the co-op that we saw in their room that got shipped up to the city. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then from there, this exporter has got the contracts. Their biggest contracts are with Chick-fil-A and Scooters. So they sell an ass ton of coffee to them. And that's good coffee. Like,
yeah,
that's good. I'm impressed. But then we have this kind of like meeting and it's like, okay, well, what type of coffee do you guys like to roast at Joe Sippers? So Brennan's like saying our flavor profiles and what we're looking for and how many roasts we have. And then from there, they go to their like bean place where they've got all these samples of beans. And then they've got a roasting room back there and they do sample roasts and they roast all these beans in the moment for us. And then from these beans,
so you get freshly roasted, like
roasted
right off the roaster.
What an experience! That is crazy to me.
That's pretty good.
And he's like has a window. Roasters. It's like literally a to-go fast food window that goes into the room.
Coffee. You can roast green coffee at home with a popcorn maker, and I've always wanted to do that at some point.
Yes, you could roast it in a pan if you wanted. You just have to like have equal moving action. So then these ones are like little colanders. Like think of you can do it in a dryer, like that drum, that rotating drum. Some people have rigged that up to be a coffee dry like roaster.
Damn. Okay, cool.
So there's ways. So then they've got, these little ones and then they just dump it out and you've got a little tray of these beans and then they pass it to the guy on the other side who brings it in, and he sets up this cupping table. So this table moves in a circular fashion, and they set up these like souffle cups. They're like 10-ounce cups, and each one, we had like 10 different types of coffee we had to cup. And each, oh shit, I got excited about cupping and I whacked my mic, you Mike. Anyways, now they took a sip of coffee and I got excited. So they get to this like cupping table. We have all these types of coffee, and he goes through and he grinds 2 cups from each set of beans. Okay. So you don't just cup one. Usually if you're cupping, you're going to have like 5 of each type of coffee, because you might taste a defect in one cup. Like not all cups are created equal off of the same batch. You could have some like weirdly fermented beans randomly in there, and you're like, ooh, that's not good. What am I tasting here? And you kind of diagnose what's happening with the bean. Like that's freaking nuts. Or this is like someone's job, you know? Like, so you're watching the process, you're making sure your crop is like elongating well and like sitting shelf wise, right?
Uniform.
Yes.
Across
Uniform
in terms of
flavor.
quality. Yeah.
So we get 2 ground cups of these beans, and then it's got like a tag in it saying where it's from, what like type of wash, like all the details of this. And so you have the beans and you take a whiff of those ground beans. Like that's going to be your first indication. That is your it's not your aroma, it's your fragrance. The fragrance. And I mean, you take a whiff and you just go around and you kind of notice what you smell first. Okay, great. Then the guy pours water over top at 202 degrees and lets it sit for like, I want to say 4 minutes. And so then it's just like kind of at a French press type of thing. You're just like floating coffee tea, right? And so some of it comes to the top and is like a foamy-esque, and then some of the grounds go to the bottom. So from there, it's called breaking the crust. And you take 2 of the cupping spoons, which are like bigger spoons, like soup spoons, but a little more depth and a little heavier. And because you slurp your cupping like wine. So you want a good spoon for that. So they break the crust and you're getting the aroma. So you want to be the first person that like breaks into it, and your nose is right over this cup and you're breaking it and smelling it at the same time. Great. Wash your spoon, go to the next and do that. Okay. You're getting the aroma. Now we wait like, I don't know, not too long. And then he goes around and he scoops out all that top crust basically. And so any foam, any grounds, anything at the top, scoops them out together, dumps them in another cup. Great. Now it's ready to be like cupped/sipped. So now you take your spoon and you've got like hot water things everywhere to rinse your spoon between whatever. And you take a little bit and you shoot it back and then you spit it out. But you kind of wash it around your mouth, and you got a spittoon after. Dip your spoon in the hot water, move on to the next one.
Why do they make you spit it out versus just throwing it back?
You could throw it back
all the time.
But yeah, they do this like 6 to 7 times a day.
The wine people, they don't want to get shit faced by the time they're
That's basically it. You're just gonna be wired all freaking day. Like your caffeine is just a little.
I try coffee all the time. I'm a taster. Oh,
yeah, exactly. Coffee tweaker. But man, you come up with all these coffee notes and you get all these tastes in your mouth. And so we're like amateurs, right? So we're trying not to choke. Sometimes you throw it back too hard and you're like, swallow it like a girl. You swallow a bubble and you're like, don't do it. Don't cough. Don't be that person. And they're just like, they sound. One time I thought it was a drill. It sounded like a, and he was just like, I mean, it was crazy. Like the expertise of this coffee level was out of this world. I was not.
That is nuts.
Like this would be my future career, is working in something like this. You're at the highest level of coffee exportation. And like there's such nice people. They had a sign that said, relationships determine results.
That's awesome.
And
I
they're
just love
just
the
so sweet.
ritual aspect of it. I mean, everybody has their own morning rituals with coffee and making it a certain way, or they grind a certain way.
Yeah.
But for the actual ritual of the true taste, where they make the beans, they roast it right there, you put it in there, you have to do that, get the aroma,
like there's so much that goes into it.
Yeah. That's like a Japanese tea ceremony. That's so cool.
Yeah, for real. And speaking of Japanese tea ceremony, there was a guy that got flown in from Tokyo, and he buys all of his beans there, and he was coming, and like one farmer that sells his beans there, or not farmer, probably a co-op or private label, whatever. He comes every Monday, and he has for the last 18 years to try his beans, every week to make sure they're kind of like on the right point of sale. Like, that's crazy. So then this guy is doing a cupping.
To his quality too. Like, oh my goodness, I want to go to that guy's place.
Right? I want to see how his shop runs. But then this Tokyo guy is there, and his cupping, he brought his own like gold-plated spoon.
Oh my goodness.
And he's doing his cupping and jotting down so many notes. Like, he is deciding for his coffee shops what beans they are going to have for the year out of what he's tasting and what he decides that his customers would like. Like, that is so cool.
It's pretty freaking rad.
Like, we're from the US in Costa Rica. He's from Tokyo in Costa Rica. And we're all like being brought to this is coffee and connections the way I've always wanted to see it.
And then it's just always so fun when cool. Like, I bet you that guy speaks some Spanish, or like knows there's somebody else that knows Japanese and Spanish. It's always fun. The globalization, the world is so crazy. The humans.
Yeah, we were talking to him.
Anybody can learn any language.
Yes. Yeah, he was talking to all the people. It's just highly impressive.
Yeah.
So that happened at like 10 a.m., but like time goes slowly there. You do like the cupping's going to take a while. This is going to take a while. And it was kind of like, when is our last time we can leave and make our flight still? And like, whatever. So finally we're like, hey, by the way, we've got a flight at 3. I think the latest we can leave is 1. We'll figure it out. And they're like, oh, okay, we got you lunch. So they had gotten us lunch, and they were like, oh, we can drive you to the airport. We're like, no. Like, we rented a car, and they're like, oh, okay. So like kind of tried to tighten it up there, but got the contact. And then I, reached out again. So Brennan's putting in an order with that exporter. So we're like switching hardcore to just like Costa Rican coffee, because why not? You've been there. We like it. You see the process and you're like, this is awesome. And a trusted source. And it's just cool. Like, I would love to be that liaison between these exporters and coffee shop. Like, that middle person would be cool to have these connections, and then be that green bean handler worldwide, or at least the Spanish speaking countries, Yeah, it would be I know nothing about how, but it's just eye-opening to see how many things in coffee you could do.
Some sparks in the old imagination.
Yes. How to be a world traveler and a coffee importer and Netflix star all in one,
Yeah, of course. Naturally.
Yeah. So you could say it was a hell of a trip. I think we all came away feeling like re-energized, rejuvenated, but also like we learned a lot of things. Like, even me being down there for 2 years living in that, I didn't know this executive level of coffee. I mean, I'm just so impressed. And like the pull and the connections just being made down there. Like, that is a country of connections, and they know people's names from afar, and one person that's good, and you've got that reputation now. And then it just like goes.
And it's fun that it's like such an impactful trip for the people that your new friends and family there, and the old ones.
Yes.
And the fact that you're able to do all this based on your entire experience up to this point has
absolutely
led and contributed to this trip.
It really has.
That's very fulfilling.
It should be very fulfilling. It's so rewarding, fulfilling.
Like, I did XYZ 5 years ago, and here's some fruit of the labor.
Literally. And now Emily's like, I think we're going to go maybe down to Costa for like a month and just like absorb the language, take the kids, and just kind of that lifestyle was so good and
Costa Rica is the best spot to go to.
The chillest. Your kids aren't going to get stolen. Like, just let them vibe, enjoy the beach, run naked. Like, have fun, learn a new language, pura vida. And then I was like, you could take them to the house. Like, Mark's saying, in a way, best host. And to have these kids run around, all these blondies, it'd be so cute. They love it. Yeah. It's just, it's cool. Like, no matter what, Brennan's got some pretty good Spanish. Emily knows nothing, but it's like now motivated to connect.
To do it.
You know, once you feel out, you're kind of like, fuck, the only thing I need to do is learn the language and I'm in. Like, that's.
Yeah, I think about it all the time. Like, I got to practice Spanish because I just know there's places I want to go and people I want to see and converse with that know Spanish.
Absolutely.
You know? And I have to take you as inspiration. So,
thank you.
Job.
Thank you.
Well,
hell of a trip.
That sounds awesome, and I can't wait to see what comes of this fruitful trip. Coffee is life. Life is coffee. Drink more and have fun.
Cafecito. Yeah. But for now, ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao.